introduce me?
Ready?
Action.
But what's questions? Like, what do you want to know from our teachers?
I don't want to use this at all.
Cool.
Hello, hello, hello.
Live speeding.
All right, I have sound rolling.
Kind of cool.
And is the camera actually on?
Ooh.
Yeah, I didn't see
Rolling.
any red.
Filming me.
Okay, you guys, if you want to start rolling, whatever.
It's cool if other cameras are in my shot.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Wait, am I the title or am I the director?
You can be the director. That's
Really? Oh, that's pretty fancy.
If we slide forward a little bit, get a little comfier, cozier.
We just kind of we wanted to frame this as much of a conversation as we can.
Okay.
All right. You guys both see this?
Yes.
Yeah?
You're good?
Yeah.
Can you see like the clapper?
No. Your arm.
Okay, I'll move it. Like if I do this.
Oh, yes.
All right. Cool. Student conversation. Take whatever. Yeah.
Thank
Okay.
you so
Here we are.
much.
Okay.
So hold it up.
Yeah, go right ahead.
All right.
Means clap.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go. Make the magic happen.
Now where am I looking?
At us. Yeah.
Are you guys? Oh, okay. Two-person thing. Okay, great.
Portion of filmmaking. Yeah, like journey to filmmaking. And this could be a longer piece, but we can cut it down for this.
Yeah.
What kind of questions do you want to ask them? Like,
Oh, I am so old that my experience of movies was at the movies. Okay, when I was a kid, if you wanted to see a movie, you saw it on the big screen. And so movies were always life but bigger, life but much more fabulous, much more intense. Everything with close-ups, everything with background music. I mean, my gosh, it was easy to fall in love with movies.
Yeah.
For most of my life, movies were just fun. No one ever said, you can do this for a living, you can talk about it for a living. When I saw the movie Cabaret when I was in college, Liza Minnelli, Fosse, those dance numbers, this dynamic editing. I mean, editing that was bam, bam. We've never seen editing like that before. Okay, I was thrilled that this was something really different. And of course, it was a version of a Christopher Isherwood story that I may or may not have read. But whoa, Isherwood didn't have editing and sound and Liza Minnelli. And that was the early 70s, and that was just when film studies was beginning to be accepted as a serious academic discipline. So it was right around that time that I remember watching it over and over again with a friend who said, look what they do with the camera. They do something astonishing there. They put the camera behind the scenes. I mean, you're behind Liza Minnelli, looking back at the audience. Something's happening there. Then I thought, oh, okay, this is really exciting. Eventually, that became my dissertation. So eventually, when I went to graduate school, I thought, that movie is so amazing that I've got to write about it. And fortunately, by then, you could write about that for a dissertation. It was okay. It was legit. I was the first graduate of theirs in the PhD program to do a film dissertation. And they were so happy that I was doing it. But also, I felt like I was getting away with something. Like, really? I can do a PhD? Really? In an English department? And I can do films? Really? So it was thrilling.
I can't remember what the first films were. I know that in this first film class, I only took one proper film class where it was a 16 class where I was taught to load a Bolex and stuff. I know we shot a film in a grocery store, just like a Kroger, and it was just like, just go in with the camera and see all of the products and make the camera do funny stuff. I haven't watched that in years and years, and I have no idea if it's any good. Probably not any good, but I just remember sort of having fun shooting and editing. I don't remember there being challenges at that point because it was just so immediate and so direct. I mean, it was more challenging when I started doing stuff that had a little bit more kind of narrative to it. And when I was trying to work with actors, like getting actors, coordinating schedules, getting locations, like all of that administrative stuff was actually a real challenge for the next kind of 4 or so years of my filmmaking. Just like getting people to agree to be in it, getting, feeding them, like kind of the apparatus of it was like the challenge, both like just technically, but also temperamentally. Like, I don't think I want to be an administrator. I don't want to be a producer. And when you're working on that tiny indie scale, you're always all of the things. And I think I would have been happier if I was just like the cinematographer or the director or the editor, and could like assign that off. But then, like, the other way to make films without all that stuff is just to be an experimental filmmaker, which is where I ended up. It was just about mode of production, about just wanting to figure out how to do things more simply, how to do things more cheaply. Yeah, it was sort of pushing me to be more experimental. Like, again, I didn't know what experimental meant. Like, if you read experimental fiction, it's still like sentences and stuff. Whereas if you watch an experimental film, it's like blue and red and flashes of light, and who knows what you're seeing. So this film I shot in November 2000 that is dated now 2001. The strip mall trilogy is like Super 8 film, is the film where I just felt like I opened a new door and started a new chapter.
I think so. I think there have been times like where I like look through my footage, or like I look through like a draft of like an edit or whatever, and I just feel like, wow, like I'm like the worst artist in the world, and I like am never gonna be good at anything, and I don't even want to like look at this anymore. But I think that something that like I've learned from like taking a class and like forcing myself to do it, and I mean just like with every like type of art that I do, like I think that I get creative satisfaction when like what I make like resonates with me in some way, or like it feels like me, and like it like doesn't have to be like the coolest or like most original thing in the world, but like as long as it's something that like resonates with me, I feel like that's like good enough, I think especially for like a class, like sometimes like what you produce, like that's your very best, and like and sometimes it just like didn't work out the way that you wanted to. Like a lot hinges like on certain like factors, like especially in film, like you have to have like equipment, like you have to have like bodies sometimes, like you have to have like editing software and like the skill to like know how to use it, and like if you don't, then like sometimes like that's it, like, and you can't really do anything more like without like tangible resources. And I don't know, but I think I get like creative satisfaction, like at least to some degree, like as long as it's like not like super like contrived or like weirdly like it, like not me, so
the balance of a work life and also a creative life can be very difficult. There's a lot of people out there who they make what they want to make, and that's what they want to do, and that's what makes them happy. And as soon as they have to make stuff for other people, it kills their creativity, right? I know a lot of people like this. They make great films, they got a job making films, they don't make their own films anymore because it just drains them of that energy. There are other people who, as long as they've got the tap on and they're cranking it out, it doesn't matter what they're cranking out. As long as they're cranking out something, it just keeps the energy going and building, and it makes their own work better. It's just two different kinds of people. And I find that I'm definitely in the camp that as long as I just keep being a part of it somehow, the better I get. I have to keep it moving forward somehow all the time. And that's what I do. And it's, it's a little difficult sometimes. But an advice I would give people is you just have to find a way to make it part of your daily routine. If I need a break, I'll take my phone outside and just like spend 20 minutes documenting a tree. Just because I got to keep it going. I got to be looking through that lens, right? And it's different for everybody what they need. But finding a way to just make that a part of your daily life.
Growth of the program. There we go.
My film? I think because I wanted to do something creative with my life after high school. And I was really into theater. I was really into creative writing. So then people in Mad Royal were really nice to me. And I was like, this is something that, like, I had done funny, like, little short film contests, like, through my local library and stuff. But I was never, like, really committed to it. And, like, my experience with it has been really interesting because it has helped that, like, I don't know, like, quench that creative thirst that I had and that need that I had. But at the same time, it's so unforgiving, which, like, I, like, looking at you guys and what you do, I understand, like, why it can be hard for you guys to be proud of your work. Because you're like, I fell in love with this topic. I fell in love with this thing, and I tried to make something, and, like, one little thing can ruin it. Like, one little thing, like, backpacks in the background of the shot can make you just be like, oh, no. Like, it is an unforgiving art form. And I'm trying to, like, manage, like, how do I keep this as something that's creative and fulfilling? And I, like, how do I keep this at a point where I don't care about the little mistakes? But that's such a hard lesson to learn. But that's why I think it's really valuable as an art form, because you need to learn patience and you need to learn forgiveness for yourself and creative collaboration, which is, like, so many more skills than what I came in looking for. So, yeah.
I mean, there's no question that documentary filmmaking, in terms of process, requires a much more in-depth look at the nuances of filmmaking, because you're talking about an overarching theme, a construct which is built around pulling together all these ideas in order to develop an idea which you're trying to convince somebody of. Editing is process. You know, editing is all about what happens when you take one frame and put it against another frame, and what do you get when those two things follow one another. So for me, it just depends, you know. It really, and I love whether or not the students love it or not, I love when the students show their work. It's my most favorite thing. I get very excited about it. I'm always fascinated by what I see, and I'm every year amazed at the content. Students have so much imagination. It's amazing. It really is.
Should we turn off the music in the head?
I feel like, I mean, maybe you don't have to record all of this.
Probably don't. Oh, because it'll be hard to.